about things, the problem seems to kind of get halved. So when is it that you decided that you wanted to speak out about this?
I guess the last year it's been much more in my mind, because for 8 years before that I just totally shut it to the back, just kind of brushed it under the carpet, and then over the last year I've been like, I wonder if I could sort of share this, because I think before I was guess really a bit embarrassed, I was ashamed. I used to think that once this was out, people would know, or maybe think, oh, that's the girl that had the eating disorder, and I thought that was like, that would be my identity. So like I say, over the past year I feel like I've grown so much, and I've started to sort of change those thoughts. So I've got a coach of my own who helps with training, nutrition, business and stuff. So we were at like a small meet-up, and there was 10 of us there, and he said you were to write down your biggest hardship. And actually in life I always feel like I've been so lucky, like I've got a really loving, amazing family, amazing friends, and I used to always think I've not got a hardship because I had just tried to forget about like everything I'd struggled with in the past with my eating. But he said, and then it started to be in my head, and he was like, if you're nervous about sharing this, it's probably a sign that you should share it, because you're going to grow off the back of this. And I was like, only actually 5 people knew about this at the time. I was like, how am I going to tell another 10 people? Like, they were pretty much strangers. I knew them a little bit, but I just thought, right, it's actually never, it's been in my head. And I just opened up and I shared, and everyone was like so supportive, and I realised actually it was a wee bit easier to talk. I wasn't embarrassed, I wasn't ashamed anymore. But then I still wasn't ready that time, that was maybe 8 months ago, still wasn't ready to like open up about it. And so I guess a lot's changed since then. I actually told one of my clients, we were out walking a marathon, we had raised money for Macmillan, so anyway we're walking a marathon, so with loads of time, and she was talking to me about like just how much I've helped her relationship with food. She was like, you've changed my life, and the time just felt right. I thought, right, I'm going to open up and tell her. And she was gobsmacked, but she was like, she says, it just makes sense why you do what you do. She was like, you've helped change me and all these girls' relationship with food. She was like, you care so much about trying to improve the way we look at food. And she got quite emotional, and she was like, you should wear that with a badge of honour. And I think since then it's been like, actually, like, I could help people now. I feel like I'm in a position where I'm no longer worried what anyone thinks. I know that's it's in the past. I'm not ashamed. I'm now thinking actually my story could help so many others, and that's how we're here today.
Amazing. And see, since you've started to kind of speak about it, has the reaction always been positive from everybody that you've told?
Actually before today, obviously I've had to tell all my loved ones, my family, my friends, because as I say, like during the time I was really young, it was years ago, there was only 5 people that knew, so I had to tell loads of people, and they were like, wow, can't believe it, and they're just saying like, so proud of you, and the response has been really positive, and that just gave me the encouragement. I was like, right, okay, it's definitely time.
Yeah, and I suppose it just shows you as well, like when you do open up and speak to people about it, it is always positive, and it's never as bad as you think it's going to be.
Yeah, definitely. It's actually nice, and I've almost been excited to open up. And I think the first time when I got in touch with you, and you were like, you might actually feel really free from it all. It might be really, really. In fact, you said it'll be really empowering, and it'll be good for you. So yeah.
Can you tell us a wee bit about when you think all really started for you?
So like looking back, it was such a long time ago. I was about 14, and growing up, I feel like I had a normal relationship with food. I would eat whatever, and I was a normal body weight and stuff for my height. And I guess I started to become obsessed with magazines. I was always looking at these size 0 models, and I became obsessed with the shape of my face. I had this really wee round face when I was young, wee like sort of round cheeks, which looking at it now, like I'm so sad that how much I was horrible to myself. I hated my face. I then hated my body. At the start, I think it was just a bit like I wanted to be like these models. I didn't realise I had a problem as such. I looked at these sort of size 0 thinking that, they were perfect. So I started to probably just change a bit my habits. Like at the same time at school, healthy eating came in, so they had this big change. I remember this change at school. I think it was a bit like, don't eat this, eat that, and I think I just became a bit obsessive. And then I started to lose a bit of weight. So I remember my teacher at high school saying, sort of holding me behind after class and be like, are you okay? You've lost a bit of weight. And I think that was almost like I quite liked that, and it was then a trigger to, I want to lose more, and it just became completely obsessive. Still at this point, still didn't realise I had a problem. Again, I think I just was so young. And then I started to you become really sneaky. I think like you start to lie. I was lying to my mum, who I've always had like such a close relationship with, and I was telling her, I've had a big lunch at school, I'm not that hungry. Then telling the teacher I'm having a big lunch when I get home. And it just becomes completely obsessive. You start skipping meals. You then you feel, good because you've skipped a meal. But then after a while, and like I always tell like my clients and things now, you can only restrict for a period of time before, you need food, you need energy, which I just didn't know at the time. I guess that probably lasted, that went on for a long time, and I'd lost a lot of weight. But then I actually got into college, and I decided to study health, fitness and exercise, but not because of the passion that I've got for it now. I think it was more in my head, if I go down that route, I'll be able to become thinner. And I think that's where the problem was. So yeah, went to college, and that it was so strange, because you think, studying that you're meant to know what to do, how to, look after yourself, look after your body, and it was just the complete opposite. So after probably about 2 years of restricting food, I actually became vegetarian as well. I pretend, I said to everyone, it's about the animals, and as much as I like animals, it wasn't to do with that. To me it was like, how can I cut out as much food as possible? And like looking at it now, if I was to be vegetarian, there's so many different ways. I would get ways to get my protein in, but it was just a way of eliminate as much as possible. So I actually became really unhealthy, and then after so long of restricting, I then started to binge, because I was like, I've not had all this food for so long, and it became binging so much, and then I became bulimic as well. So I would like rather, I wasn't just after a meal going to be sick. It was like, right, okay, I'm going to eat everything in the kitchen. And I think this is where the problem really, it was an awful couple of years. I was so ashamed. This was a part that I could never ever talk about. And I think because I was still trying to, I wanted to be like these models, and I was like, right, you read all these magazines, and I was like, right, okay, they're doing this crazy diet, they're only eating vegetables or whatever, and because it's so unsustainable, the minute I would have a biscuit, I would then feel like I had such a terrible relationship with food. I felt like it was so bad that I would then go and have like 3 packets of biscuits. It was like complete punishment to myself, I think. I just looked at myself as like, you're such a failure, you can't stick to this super clean eating, so you may as well just completely binge. I feel like, I bet my poor dad got the blame for eating all the biscuits. I used to eat the entire kitchen, and then that's when my mum and dad picked up on it. So that they were the worst couple of years, like through college. That went on from about probably, I'm going to say about 17 to about 22, and then finally stopped being sick and stuff, which looking back now, again, I'm doing a lot of work recently just trying to figure it all out and stuff, because I just tried to forget about it for so long. And I think now there was always still sort of problems there, in terms of like, I remember when I worked in Sainsbury's, that was actually during it all, and I would take like a double shift in Sainsbury's, so I'd be working about 12 hours, and I would deliberately not take any money, so like I couldn't buy food, and I would just be like, it was like pure, it was punishment. And it's so weird to look back, because I was on the outside, I think everyone looked at me as I was really happy. They thought I was, and like say, amazing family, amazing friends, there was nothing wrong there. So it was just this obsession of trying to be so thin. Like I had complete body dysmorphia. So I remember actually it was my dad's 50th birthday party, so that was a good 14 years ago, and I could not find a dress because I thought I was overweight. I looked in the mirror and I didn't see, like I was skin and bone, and I could not see it, and it was just so sad. There was just no getting through to me. Yeah.
And do you think you realised like at the time how bad it was, or is it not until like now that you're kind of looking back and you're actually like
at the time I definitely didn't know. I just wanted to me I wasn't thin enough. I wanted to be thinner. I didn't really realise at the time when it got really bad, being bulimic, that was the worst part for me. And again, I think it was because I was ashamed. I couldn't believe how much food I was eating to then make myself sick. Like it was loaves of bread, like packets and packets of crisps, everything. Actually things that at some point I would eat things I didn't even like. It was just like, and then I'd go need to be like violently sick, to get it all out. And I knew I sort of had a problem at that stage. But now looking back, it's I didn't realise for about the first couple of years.
So you had mentioned before that to kind of the outside world and everybody else that you seemed still dead happy and bubbly, but with mental health and loads of other things, actually what's going on inside can be really different. So how did all of that make you feel when you were kind of really going through it?
It was really, like I say, strange, because I did seem really, really happy, and I think that's why I managed to get away with it for so long. Like I say, my mum knew, obviously they picked up on all the food going missing, and they would hear me being sick. I would put the shower on and stuff, but it would, there was just no stopping me. And I just, I did feel so ashamed that I felt like I couldn't speak about it. But as well, like everything took a hit. Like my hair started to fall out. Like looking at it now, it was so thin. As much as actually, like I think because I was really probably quite small in height, I actually probably didn't look as if I had I mean, people would have thought, oh, she's very thin, but I didn't look really, really ill. But actually inside, like, I felt absolutely awful. And I remember this was a kind of, I'll always stick in my head. Like I could not get out of this cycle. It was like, my mum would get me up in the morning. She'd always make me like a breakfast before going to college, and I'd also have like cereal, toast, a bit of fruit or something, and she would just be like trying to, look after me. And then say she would go to work, I would go down stairs and I'd be like, right, I'll just have one biscuit, and before I knew it, it would be an absolute nightmare. And anyway, I remember coming back in from work, and one day I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I cannot get out of this cycle. And for a wee split second, I did think it would be easier not to be here. I was like, and it gave me a shock, because I was like, no, Michelle, like you can't do this to your family. Like you need to get better. But I don't think I've realised this until just recently, looking back, how low I really got. I think I thought, I've not got an eating disorder. I don't look like I'm really ill. Like that's the horrible thing about the illness, is you want to keep being thinner. You want it's like you don't want to help yourself. So there was a part of me that, like say, when I had that wee realisation and I thought, I can't do this, I can't get out of this cycle, how am I ever going to break this? That was a low point that made me think, right, you need to get better. I lost my period at such a young age as well, so they had started, and then I was just so I wasn't getting obviously any protein from my diet at all, I wasn't getting any nutrition at all from my diet. Periods stopped. I think I remember having to go on the pill at like 16 just to bring them back, and looking at it now, I'm like, hopefully that's not, done things to my body. Definitely as well, I was so young that I think when you're going through puberty and things, I had stopped basically my body growing. So it just made me feel so low that, like I say, I just thought, I don't want to be here. And I was like, no, like you need to make a change.
Yeah. And was that the point, so when you started to think that you didn't want to be here, did you change immediately after that, or did anything else kind of trigger you to think, no, I'm gonna make some changes?
There was a couple of things. So that was a a main one. I thought, no, like, don't do this to your family. I was so lucky. I've been so lucky all my life. I was like, why is this happening? So I would try. Me and my mum went to the doctor. She was like, right, come on. I can't actually remember if this was before that feeling or it might have been before. I think we went quite early on, but it's like I wasn't ready for help. I didn't want to get help, and I almost thought I can do this myself, and I was too scared to tell the doctor. Like, it's only been this past year I can talk about being bulimic. That was definitely the worst ever. So at the time I couldn't tell anyone how bad it was, and so saying to we went to the doctor, but like I say, as well, I went on the scale. I actually wasn't underweight, so in my head it was like we just didn't get anywhere with that. So then that was that. But I did find I eventually told one of my friends, and I also told a cousin, and I remember it was actually, I think I'd had a few drinks, been out with them, and told them a little bit, and the next day I remember being like, so embarrassed. I thought, oh no, like, what are they going to think? But it did help, because they checked in, and as much as it was so hard, I didn't want anyone knowing, but once they checked in, I was like, oh wait a minute, I can't keep doing this, they know now. And I was annoyed at the time, but I remember it being like, no, this, and it had definitely helped. So that was the start of things getting better. This must have been about maybe 18, 19. And then I actually I always wanted to work abroad. That was a dream since I was about 15. Went on 15, 16, on first girls' holiday, and I was like, I want to work abroad. So anyway, I went away, done that, and I actually got a wee bit better then. I don't know, just living in the sunshine, being a wee bit, I was busy as well, maybe different environment. I was probably still being sick, but not to the extent of absolutely binging and feeling really awful. And, still restricting food and all that, but things got slightly better. But then this was actually what changed it all, and looking at it now, I think it's a blessing that it happened, because it would have got better. If not, who knows. So we were over in Spain, and I woke up one morning. I'd been there for about maybe 5 months, and you were working, you were partying, you were was working in a bar, so you were drinking every night. So I woke up one morning and I looked about, like 6 months pregnant. My stomach was blown up. I actually had to waddle down to the medical centre, and I had been getting pains for a couple of days beforehand, but I just thought, and I remember like sort of trying to be sick, and I just could not be sick. It was, sometimes it would happen like 3 times a day, so it was obviously doing damage to my body. And then I went down, they rushed me into Ibiza town, and they thought it was my appendix. Turned out I had an ulcer in my stomach, and it had like basically burst. I had a hole in it, and they said my stomach was in a bad way. Whether this was down to the damage of so many years to my body or just alcohol every night, who knows, but I thought it was a sign for me that I was like, I was so scared, and I was like, damn it, like what have I done? So that was a big shock. My 2 best friends, it was such a shame for them. They were worried sick they were over there with me. Mum and Dad had to fly over and get me and take me home. So like say, looking at it now, it was a blessing. I still think at the time I don't know. But if it wasn't for that, would that have got better? Who knows? It didn't stop. It stopped for a while. I was scared to be sick, which again was a blessing. I was like, oh, what if that happens to your stomach again? It also helped because I actually stopped maybe drinking alcohol for about 6-7 months after. And me and my friends, we were always out and about, we were always drinking alcohol, which didn't help. Because it's like you feel down in the dumps after drinking alcohol. You're more likely to eat lots of food, which is completely normal, but then the way I was and the view I had, the relationship with food, it did never help me. So that was always a back and forward thing. So anyway, I got a bit better after the operation and stuff, stopped drinking for a while, and then after that it did just sort of stop. Gradually it would happen now and again, but I would just be like, cut it out, come on, you can't go back to there. And things got a bit better then.
So just kind of started gradually getting better.
Gradually getting better from there, which was a blessing, definitely.
But it sounds like that thing is as scary as it was at the time. If that hadn't happened, like you said. I don't know what.
That's it. Like there was some, looking back, like there was some really low times in terms of like, I don't know when did it go from being sick like once a day to 3 times a day. And you know, some days it would be like say I couldn't even lift my head off the pillow. It would be so bad. I'd been really violently sick. I actually remember one time as well, like I couldn't be sick, and I was so mad. I was like, how am I going to get this out my body? I actually went to the shop. I bought in fact I've done this a couple of times, but bought laxatives just to try and get this food out. I took about 10, and I mean I was doubled over in pain. It was like excruciating pain, and I'm like, it was so bad.
Did you ever experience any other symptoms in terms of like your memory or like the way that worked?
Yeah, that's a huge thing. So like say those years at college were the worst. I don't know where I was. I actually don't know how I got through college, how I passed. I was working in the gym, the college gym, and I got a job at Grangemouth Mariner Centre, the complex, working there, and completely consumed by this illness. I have no memory of college whatsoever. Do you know, all I remember is what I would eat a box of grapes for my lunch, and my friend, who I'm still really good friends with just now, you know, she would try and help, like please try and have something, and I would just push it under the carpet. I'm fine. But yeah, no memory at all. I actually, when I came about 20, what age was I then? About 26, obviously feeling, you know, totally fine and things. I actually restudied like my level 2 and level 3 gym instructor personal training course, which I learned at college, but I got a job in a gym when I was a bit older, and I was like, I was so scared to do programs to teach people because I couldn't remember. So I restudied. I also remember being on a spin course and a kettlebell course, and I was there, but I have no memory of it. And again, the only thing I do remember is that on the spin course, it was like 8 hours sitting on this bike, and I ate one Freddo the full day. And I'm like, oh my God, so you're just completely, you're deprived, haven't you, of nutrients, your brain's deprived, like your body is actually shutting down. Although, like say, I still looked at it as, no, you're not thin enough, I felt as if it wasn't bad enough, it wasn't as much of an illness. But yeah, body was totally deprived, which is awful looking back.
I think that's why it's so important to talk as well about what you went through, because it's not just the small amount of symptoms that's kind of typically associated with that. There's so many other things that come.
There's so many, like I'm so happy now I've managed to get my health totally on track, but your health totally deteriorates. Like say the losing the period and stuff at such a young age, like it's so important. I mean, you need that to live, and it's just not obviously to live in general, but like you need your period, like as a woman. And yeah.
Okay, so you kind of touched previously on things did start to get better for you, which is amazing. Do you want to tell us a wee bit about where you are at now with everything?
Yeah. So yeah, the past year, like there's been just so many changes, like I've majorly in my mindset, also like physically as well, and just in such a good place, which is well, that's why I thought right now is the time to open up, because I think before because this was I had this identity which I thought was like, you know, I was always obviously very, very skinny back in the day when I was struggling, but then I was still kind of hanging on to that, I think, and it was almost like this fear of changing and things. But over the past year, like I've just been doing so much sort of work for myself and finding out, you know, or like looking at my values, and I'm like, right, what actually matters to me, you know, and it's like obviously happiness, like I'm really feel really, really happy now, obviously happy, healthy, but like relationships and things as well. And I know that back in, you know, when you are struggling with these illnesses, you push everyone away, you know, there's no chance of relationships, it's you become selfish. So I'm in a great place now, and now actually I want to be like as strong and as fit as I've ever been. I love CrossFit now, and now to actually to train like that, you know, like you need to eat, and I'm trying to really I thought by opening up and being able to share my story, because I'm actually still very, very small. I don't think my weight's ever really changed. Body shape's changed massively, but just wanting to be able to encourage people, like, you know, you can eat, like there's a better way, like foods to be enjoyed and stuff. So that's like, I feel so grateful and things. I've got amazing clients at the moment. Like I absolutely love my job. I'm able to coach women who've, like, you know, and they're all starting to say to me, like, I never realised, you know, I can eat foods and I can still go out for dinner. And you know, they don't actually know this about me either. Like, I've never ever opened up and spoke about this, but actually they've said, like, you've helped me, my mindset so much. I've realised, like, I'm doing this for my health, for my happiness, for my family. They've all got, you know, babies of their own children, and they realise now, like, I want to be a good role model. And whether, like, you know, a lot of people struggle with eating so much, whether it's like looking at food as being good or bad or being too restrictive, and there's so many different issues people have with food, and I feel really grateful that I can help coach these women now to really just feel the best that they can be.
Which is amazing. I think it does have such a link as well between that and your mental health. Like, it's also interlinked, so as long as you're looking after your body and your mind, then it's the best way forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then what do you think you would say to people who are kind of struggling or who are feeling right now how you felt all those years ago?
I would say definitely, like, just speak to people. Even though it's so hard and you might feel ashamed and scared of what people are going to think, and or if you feel like you want to get better, like, just speak to people, whether it's like family, friends, or like there's obviously help out there, like get professional help, because anytime I did speak about it, it did get slightly better, and I just feel like if I had not been so scared and just opened up, I could have, you know, got professional help way back then. It would have maybe saved me having to, you know, get that operation on my stomach, and things, and have to go through all that, like that worry, and just all those years of that was really looking at it. I think 8 years of it was totally consumed with being anorexic to start with, then bulimic, and then actually I feel like if I'd got professional help off the back of being bulimic, it would have saved me another probably 6 years, because as much as I felt like I've recovered from that, I've still been obsessed with body image. I've always worked in a gym, so I was like, you know, maybe teaching like 5 gym classes a day, actually, you know, having to physically take part in them, and eating. And then I started to track on MyFitnessPal, but I used to try and eat this 1,200 calories, which is actually for like a child. I don't know where this number comes from. It's absolute madness. But I thought that's what you had to do. So as much as I thought I was fine, looking back, there's probably been about 6 years off the back of being bulimic that I was still struggling, but I was in a better place. I was happier, you know, and things got better, which is great. So it's really only been the last probably 2 years I've actually been like, do you know what, wait a minute, like, let's start eating more. I actually have put on, you know, like so much muscle recently. I've been through the amazing journey of my own, and so yeah, I would just say to people, like you're not alone. Definitely, like, speak up, don't be afraid to speak up, because you can get professional help out there, and like, you just deserve to enjoy life and be happy.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for kind of coming and sharing your story. I think you'll really help so many people, and you should be really proud of you.
Thank you. Well, that's what I thought, and because I actually feel like if maybe me back in the day, if I had someone that I maybe looked up to, or that was like, it was fit and healthy and like strong and stuff, like I am now, like if they actually told me, you know, like their story, I think it would have helped loads. So I actually I use my old self as like a bit of motivation for me now. So like, I love to train really hard and things, and like I put myself into all these fitness competitions now, and I actually think about like when things are getting really tough, I'm like, do it for like old Michelle, like the girl that like could not lift her head off the pillow, like so ill, so weak, and actually like I hated myself, and I feel like I've now actually got a really good like relationship with myself, with my body. Like I'm really confident in myself, which I just never ever used to have. So I would like want to encourage like anybody out there to open up, and it will get better.
Amazing, thank you.
Thank you.
I think on the back of this, a lot of people really will. So.
Yeah, I hope so.